On this channel, we explore concepts and clinical reasoning in medicine in a simple and systematic way. Let's get started. Membranous nephropathy and membranous lupus nephritis share a similar histopathologic pattern, thickening of the glomerular basement membrane due to subepithelial immune complex deposition. However, despite this structural similarity, they differ fundamentally in etiology, immunopathogenesis, systemic involvement, and clinical implications. These differences can be understood by examining each aspect in detail. First, in terms of definition and disease nature, primary MN is kidney-limited autoimmune disease, whereas membranous lupus nephritis is renal manifestation of systemic lupus erythematosus. The reason for this distinction lies in the origin of the immune response. In MN, the autoimmune reaction is directed specifically against antigen expression on podocytes, making the kidney the primary and often sole target organ. In contrast, SLE is a systemic autoimmune disorder characterized by loss of immune tolerance to nuclear antigens, leading to multi-organ involvement, including the kidneys. Regarding etiology, primary MN is most often idiopathic, although secondary forms can occur due to malignancy, infections such as hepatitis B, and drugs. Membranous lupus nephritis, however, is inherently secondary to SLE. The difference arises because MN is driven by a targeted autoimmune response against specific podocyte antigens, while lupus nephritis results from a broader dysregulation of the immune system involving multiple autoantigens. The autoantibody profiles further highlight this divergence. In MN, the dominant autoantibodies are anti-PLA2R, phospholipase A2 receptor, and less commonly anti-THSD7A. These autoantibodies bind directly to antigens on podocytes. In lupus nephritis, antibodies such as anti-dsDNA, ANA, and anti-SMID are produced against nuclear components. This occurs because in SLE, defective clearance of apoptotic cells exposes nuclear material to the immune system, triggering a widespread autoantibody response. This leads directly to differences in pathogenesis. In MN, immune complexes are formed in situ when circulating antibodies bind directly to podocyte antigens. These localized formations explains why deposits are primarily subepithelial. In contrast, membranous lupus nephritis involve both circulating immune complexes and in situ formation. Because these immune complexes are formed systematically and circulate in the bloodstream, they can deposit in multiple locations within the glomerulus, including subepithelial, subendothelial, and mesangial regions. This pathogenic difference explains the characteristic findings of immunofluorescence. MN typically shows granular deposition in IgG, especially the IgG4 subclass, along the GBM, with limited complement activation. IgG4 is less efficient in activating the classical component pathway, which explains the relatively mild inflammatory response. In contrast, lupus nephritis demonstrated a full house pattern, IgG, IgA, IgM, C3, and C1q, because multiple antibody types and immune complexes are involved. This presence of C1q reflects activation of the classical complement pathway, which is a hallmark of immune complex diseases like SLE. On electron microscopy, both conditions show subepithelial deposits, but lupus nephritis often has additional deposits in subendothelial and mesangial areas. This broader distribution occurs because circulating immune complexes in SLE can be trapped in various of the glomerulus, unlike MN, whereas the target antigen is localized to podocytes. The light microscopy findings also differ. MN typically shows diffuse GBM thickening with minimal cellular proliferation or inflammation, reflecting the non-inflammatory nature of IgG4-mediated injury. In contrast, membranous lupus nephritis may show mesangial proliferation or inflammatory changes, especially if there is overlap with proliferative classes, class 3 or 4. This is due to the stronger complement activation and inflammatory response in SLE. Another important distinction lies in complement levels. In MN, complement levels C3 and C4 are usually normal because complement activation is limited and largely localized within the kidney. In lupus nephritis, complement levels are often decreased due to systemic consumption, as immune complexes continuously activate the complement system throughout the body. The presence of absence of systemic features is a key clinical differentiator. MN is typically confined to the kidneys, so patients do not exhibit systemic symptoms unless there is an underlying secondary cause. In contrast, patients with membranous lupus nephritis often have systemic manifestations such as malaise, arthritis, hematologic abnormalities, and psoriasis. This occurs because SLE is a multiple autoimmune disease affecting various systems. Clinically, both conditions commonly present with nephrotic syndrome. But lupus nephritis may also include nephritic features such as hematuria or hypertension. This is because lupus-related inflammation can involve other of the glomerulus beyond the subepithelial spaces. In the term of serology, MN is characterized by the presence of anti-PLA2R antibodies, which correlate with disease activity. In lupus nephritis, serology markers such as ANA and anti-dsDNA are positive, and complement levels are low. These markers reflect systemic immune activation rather than a kidney-specific process. The associated conditions also differ. MN can be associated with malignancies, infections, or certain drugs, reflecting secondary immune triggers. Membranous lupus nephritis is also associated with SLE, which has its own spectrum of triggers, including genetic, hormonal, and environmental factors. Both conditions carry a risk of thrombosis, particularly due to nephrotic syndrome, which leads to hypercoagulability. However, in lupus nephritis, this risk may be further amplified by antiphospholipid antibodies, which directly promote thrombosis. Treatment strategies differ because of the underlying mechanism. MN treatment focus on reducing antibody production, such as rituximab or modulating immune response, alongside supportive therapies such as RAAS blocker. In lupus nephritis, treatment requires broader immunosuppression such as corticosteroid and mycophenolate mofetil to control systemic immune activity. Monitoring response to therapy also reflects pathogenesis. In MN, declining anti-PLR2 antibody levels indicate immunologic remission. In lupus nephritis, improvement is assessed by decreasing anti-dsDNA titers and normalization of complement levels, reflecting reducing systemic immune activation. Finally, prognosis and relapse patterns differ. MN may undergo spontaneous remission in some patients because of the autoimmune response may subside over time. In contrast, membranous lupus nephritis follows the relapsing remitting course of SLE, with disease activity fluctuating based on systemic immune dysregulation. In summary, although both diseases share a membranous pattern of glomerular injury, MN is a targeted organ-specific autoimmune disease, while membranous lupus nephritis is part of systemic immune complex disorder. This fundamental difference explains the variation in immunology, pathology, clinical features, laboratory findings, and management. Thank you for following discussion. In clinical practice, what matters is not just what we know, but how we think. See you in the next discussion.